the future of the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. Given the situation of Russia, Ukraine, we're seeing countries like Saudi Arabia looking outside of the U.S. dollar system, Israel now. So, what direction do you see this headed in?
Well, I think that the SDR is the most likely candidate to take over as the world reserve currency. So all of those dollars that are held in all of those foreign central banks, that's got to come home. And the way that they'll most likely do it is by depositing them into the IMF's International Monetary Fund's the special account that they set up to convert dollar assets into SDR assets, so that in theory, the IMF can determine the speed at which the dollars come back to the U.S. But yeah, we're going to suffer the most in the U.S. because we're losing that status.
Right. And so, I always want to be able to empower our viewers, educate them, give them the tools in preparation for the landscape that you see coming, right?
Oh, wow,
so
yeah.
if we had to really give like takeaway advice, right? Real things we can do after this interview. What are, 3 things you'd be looking at?
Well, I would definitely be securing any wealth that I hold in the system, with gold and also physical silver. Okay, so you definitely need those in your possession. Secondly, food becomes the single biggest issue for people through this transition. So you need to secure your food source. I've done gardens, but there's all different ways that you can do it. But you definitely, absolutely, 100% need to secure your food. And only 3. If I only get 3, then the third one would be community. And I'm not sure that shouldn't be, maybe not the first one, but definitely
Up there. Yeah.
coming together with your neighbors, making sure you know your neighbors, making sure that you are part of a community, maybe in a community garden is great, so that you have a variety of skill sets to come together and help each other through this mess.
Absolutely. And so sad that sense of community, I believe, is the greatest loss of, that happened during, of course, besides lives, but during the pandemic, right, Lynette, that we lost that sense of community.
Yes. And things have changed. I remember back in the 70s, you knew your neighbors. Everybody was, the doors were open. Everybody was in and out of everybody else's house. And since the 70s, really, these things are planned, and you can look at the breakdown in the family system, in a lot of the systems to divide us. And with all of the technology, there's a lot of great things about technology, but there's also some things that are not great. I know I look at my grandkids. Well, we used to meet with our friends like every day if we could, and hang out with them and do stuff and what have you. Well, I go over to their house and they're all on their computers. Like, don't you want to go play with your friends or get together with your friends? Or, well, we are. Yeah. We're on the computer. It's very different. Yeah. And so, the breakdown of community.
I have a no iPad rule in this house for the kids. So that speaks to me right there. But getting back to your first point, because I know we've spoken about this and I know it resonated with so many audience members about diversifying outside of the system. And, I think it's a good point to bring up that you always think, well, am I really going to have to? Do I really need to? Is it really going to happen? And, just look at what's happening in Ukraine, where people, weren't able to access cash, right? Mm-hmm. And they had to use, whether you're a believer or not in cryptos or the metals, but they had to go outside the system.
Right. And look at Canada.
Right. And look at Canada.
Okay, that was a war. Well, there's, is Canada inside of a war? No. But they didn't like your politics? Bam. Cut you right off. Well, what are you going to do? I can always convert this to any of the current fiat money system. That's easy peasy.
I'll leave you the final word, Lynette. Everyone always just listens to every single word. So just final thoughts for our viewers.
Honestly, things are heating up, and it should be really apparent to everybody that things are moving really quickly, and we are going from crisis to crisis to crisis to crisis. Don't buy into it. Gold, silver, physical in your possession will enable you to survive anything. It'll enable you to buy what you need. But you need to be prepared with food, water, energy security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. And we just recently opened up a new YouTube on the rest of the mantra to help people at any level that they are. Our goal is to build a really comprehensive library so that wherever you're at, whatever your budget is, whatever your skill set is, there's something to address that, so you can be as independent and self-sufficient as possible through this mess.
There you go. Amen to that. Lynette Zang. Talk